So blocking it in at this stage, I could walk away from the painting, come back later on and say, okay, now I want to add the second layer and tighten it up. If you found something appealing because of its value in contrast, the birch trees that you guys have around here are basically white subject matter. They're a nice warm white, except some of those goofy trees that we whipped past the university looked like they had like road dirt or dust or dirt on the backside. The whole backsides of the things were really kind of a dark blackish brown. I don't know if that's a fungus or bark changing color that's never had any sunlight on it or whatever it is. These look white because they're on a super dark background. So if you're looking for high contrast, choose something with an extreme contrast right off the bat. Literally say, I really want my white trees to pop. For a slightly larger one, just so I can get more coverage on quickly. So in an extreme value, I'm going to go for kind of a medium purpley white just for the moment to block it in. You can scubble over a surface with a dry brush technique. That breaks up and that kind of gives you some of the bark situation. You can paint that back in later on if you want to, but I'm going to say, oh, my tree is so big. Right now he's coming from all that. I'm going to darken up one side of him. So here's my birch tree. Because he's still wet, I'm able to blend and get a soft, oops, a little too much here, hang on.
What color did you put on the background?
Bleh.
Red.
Red and purple mixed together, I think. I think I was trying to cover something else that I didn't like underneath there. So the first choice a lot of us think of is that, oh, they're white, so therefore white in shadow is gray. That's true. It's kind of a grayish color. The very back edge of your tree is getting light from all the rest of the trees around it, so there might actually be also a very light, come on, go light blue here. You might have a light value on the backside here. So overall, that piece has somewhat of a round look to it because we have sunlight coming from one side, we have reflected light, but it's not quite dark enough to say, I really am.
Would this theory apply also to if you like wanted to do a snow scene? Would you still want a nice dark background?
I don't know enough about snow scenes to answer that question well. If you've got a lot of white going on, I guess starting on a black background is not going to be tremendous, but if you had, you know, a dark day and a few things highlighted, I'd say, yeah, go ahead and start on a light and just add your highlights. So it depends on overall the painting itself. If it's a really dark painting to begin with lots of dark values, easy to do on a black background. But if you're going to end up with a lot of white, don't start with a black background. Now, if the tree in the middle of the forest, you're standing in the middle of that forest and you're looking at those birch trees, on this one, the yellow from the forest around you is going to be bouncing on that tree. So a lot of times that yellow added to gray is going to give you quite a warm effect. So the backlighting bouncing off of other stuff around you will actually have a light yellow effect. So be aware of, I'm standing inside the forest, all the trees kind of sort of look yellow, they don't look this purple. Just push this really white right here. Yes, you can sit here and paint every little thing on the birch trees if you want to do that, that's fine too. Birch trees, when you see a tree in the forest, your horizon line, I'm going to be silly, just say up here is our horizon line for the moment. If your horizon line is there, anything up to about almost to the halfway point here, all of the stripes on your tree at this point are pretty much going to be straight across. Everything below that point is going to be a smiley face. Halfway point, everything above it is going to start to get a frowny face. This is part of that description that your brushwork is going to tell the eye that this tree is higher than your horizon point and lower than your horizon point. And it's being described by, if you look up here on the chalkboard, the columns that are up there. So if this were a glass on the table, sure enough, I would see the bottom half of the glass and it would match the top half of the glass pretty much. I would see the other side of the glass over here, and it would be the same elliptical. So depending on where my elliptical occurs, now I'm underneath my table looking up through a glass tabletop, I'm going to see the bottom of my glass. So there are things that help describe the roundness of something depending on where that column or item is on the horizon to you. So in trees, you don't get to do smiley, frowny, smiley, frowny, smiley, all the way up the tree. There's smiley faces below the tree, there are frowny faces above, generally speaking. Now, given that there's 2,000 types of birch trees out there, some general rules are, when you are describing, let me make it a little bit darker here, wherever there was a branch at one point, I think is kind of where you have the little striped portions, or we have the ones with little eyeballs in them, kind of. So, and when a branch leaves the tree, it pretty much leaves it kind of in a V-shape pattern and kind of goes up. That branch eventually might have some highlights on it. And yes, I know they're black around here, but don't paint white trees, black branches on a green bark. The black's just too harsh. Mellow it down to a milder brownie. Where did that one go? Other landscape tree thing. Oh. You know, brownie, brown, greens, kind of a neutralized branch color, more so than just straight into blacks, because the blacks can just be so harsh that they take over a painting. Also use your rigger brush, and I'll pull him out here in a second, but the major portion of a tree and its branches should not have super dark blacks. In this case, since I have such a black background, it doesn't really matter because we're doing kind of dark on a dark. This is a nice suggestion of a tree branch that you're barely seeing. It's kind of cool now. If I had painted that on a dark white surface, oh hey, lots of other stuff on the back. You know, it's just too hard of a color to go on a light surface, whereas that same color on the dark is kind of cool. So as you move through your painting, your colors are going to change on your branches if you want them to stand out or not. If this tree is in front, all of his branches are going to be in front of him. Be careful if you have a tree whose bottom, because it was wet, when I put it on there, it's going to come off. Oop, I got McDonald's napkins. Be careful, they'll fall apart on my painting. Okay, so his bottom is that far away. His branches are not going to be going in front of this guy's. And even though you think that's what you see in the painting, be aware, wherever the bottom of that guy is, he's further back by 2 feet. His branches do not get to go in front of, oh my God, these smell like French fries. You're going to have to go in the face. So you can add warmth to the front edge of a tree with the sunlight hitting it. And you can add, in the drama queen world, cool darks on the back side. Yes, you can paint like this and do all the little worky doodles, and if that's what you like to do, have fun with it. I, on the other hand, I'm a lazy butt, so we're going to do palette knife version. Okay. So it's kind of a medium kind of color. Not too hard. You really need some shadow on the back side.
And that texturing that you have on the background kind of helps too to give the tree.
It takes away the control my human hand wants to put on this canvas. It literally says, I don't care if you're going to make a straight stroke, I'm going to break it up for you. It's great when you start adding palette knife to things like this because that surface is so textured that. So when you get a palette knife, you're going to be using, if you want to cover a large coverage area, you'll be using the flat side. But if you're just going to be using an edge of it, I will literally scoop all of the product off onto one edge so that I'm just painting with one side of that edge. So if I wanted, oop, frowny faces, front, oop, not too much. Painting with a palette knife is like painting with a stick. You're not going to get a lot of detail. You're going to get a lot of messiness that you wish you could correct later on. And yes, you can wait for it to dry and go back and fix it, or you try to wipe it off and do stuff. I'm going to go for a black now. So be aware of the fact you're not going to be doing all of your detail work with a stick.
But it's a great effect.
It does make some great, without having to go in there and go, little black thing, little black
Right.
thing, little black thing. And I swear, sometimes you just find a favorite paintbrush or a palette knife and it will work for you. Sometimes I bent it and now I've got this little S shape going on here and it's a pain in the butt and I won't put paint anywhere where I want it to. So once you unscrewed the thing with it and you messed up your palette knife, take it out of the paintbrush and give it to your husband to stick in the garage. Because that's where it belongs. Because once you have it up here, you're frustrated messing around with it. Black is sort of what's on this trees. It's a lot nicer if you can kind of make it a warmer black, especially where the sunny side of your tree is. It's a grayish black. And wow, I bet you on late sunny evenings when the sunlight just barely hits that side, you might even see some orange warmth wrapped in that. Anything black with sunlight in it can be a version of red depending on what you have going on.
It's just amazing how you can take all those different colors.
And I learned that from Robert Moore, and there's one of our reference pictures over there. And one of our gals here has taken a class from him and said he paints with both hands and uses squirt guns. And the only thing I know about him is he's colorblind. And he makes the best color choices. So that right there, that's got to tell you value is more important than color.
He says that's all he sees.
Values. It's like, so if we will maybe walk around with those little rose glasses on, like they'll see through viewfinder I had yesterday. We just walk around with those on and said, okay.